Well, he is Chris Bond, TV production guru for Motorcross, specifically right now. He shakes his head because he's not used to all the praise, but it's a humble side of Chris Bond that you're going to learn more about, but also someone who has done a whole lot. So he deserves some humble recognition, and that's what he's going to find here. He is on Twitter at Bondo TV. I wonder if his nickname in the production truck is Bondo, but he works a lot with motocross. He's done every single sport imaginable over the course of his career. And we're going to talk about his career and what makes it inspirational. This is the On to Something podcast. I'm Bryan Fenley, an anchor at Fox Sports Radio and a broadcaster for the USTA. So, Chris, I watch these athletes, as you do, from a front row position here in motocross, and I'm in awe of what they're able to do. The adrenaline that they're able to tap into is evident by what we see on the television screen. But when you see them do what they do up close and personal, how do you gain adrenaline from their heroics on the track?
Well, first of all, Bryan, thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite, although I'm not sure why still. But if I can shine a light on Monster Energy AMA Supercross and Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, then that's I appreciate the time. These guys contest 2 championships. Monster Energy AMA Supercross starts in January, goes till May. They get a couple of weeks off. And then Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship starts up. It's a 12-round championship that ends sometime in September. It's the same athletes, 2 different championships, 2 different styles pretty much of riding the motorcycle. January 8th, we're going to be in Anaheim. Monster Energy Supercross is going to kick off on the NBC Family of Networks and Peacock TV. We're going to race inside Angel Stadium. That's where these guys do their thing in Supercross. They do it in America's greatest sports venues. And what you'll see is you'll see some of the most expertly tuned athletes on the planet. Their physical fitness, their cardio is only rivaled by that of Tour de France cyclists. They'll throw their couple 100-pound motorcycles 40 feet in the air, and they'll land in a rut 70 feet away that's about like that far apart. They have the courage of a bank robber and the finesse and a gracefulness of a ballet dancer. I get jacked up every time because I know the best guys are in the world are on there at the gate, and I'm probably going to see something even after, what is it, like 17 years that I've never seen before.
Chris Bond is with us. I'm Bryan Fenley. So with all of these upcoming events, and I know you're getting ready for the 2022 season, and I noticed on Twitter that you are already preparing for the busy slate in 2022. I mean, we're talking a couple months before 2022 happens, but what is going into the preparation for you, and how complex and how thorough and what you are focusing on as to your research and your readiness for what is going to be a very successful upcoming season?
Well, readiness is all, right? I mean, so yeah, just like the athletes right now are starting their off-season testing and preparation, so are we. I mean, sports in general, right? It just gives us so much to unpack. And what one of the things I'm sure everybody, no matter what sport it is, that comes on here, you can't tell it all, right? You can't show it all, but you prepare for what could happen, and then you adjust from there. So yeah, I'm already diving into it, and I love it. And it's going down a rabbit hole for 3 hours to look at stats from 2021 to get me ready for 2022 is a good way to spend an afternoon. In fact, I just hung up on a conference call with my boss at Fell Motorsports, Doug Cabrera. It was the 3rd of calls that we've had in the last couple of weeks talking about media days, just like NFL and NBA does. We're going to get all the athletes in one place. We're going to sit them down. We're going to do evergreen interviews. We're going to shoot hero shots, all that kind of stuff. So we just had a 45-minute call about that.
When you think about your style as a producer, when somebody watches a Chris Bond production, what is it about the way in which you concentrate your energies in a broadcast where those who know you, your colleagues, can say, oh yeah, there's Chris Bond, that's what he's doing, that's definitely one of his kind of broadcasts?
Yeah, well, I hope we're telling good stories. You know, I hope the viewer is sitting at home and at some point they're like, I didn't know that,
Yeah.
you know? Um, and I hope we're doing it in a way that isn't over anybody's head,
Sure.
you know? Worked with Ralph Shaheen for many years. And Ralph would always say, if Billy's sitting next to his dad on the couch and he asked his dad a question about this that we haven't told him about, and his dad doesn't know the answer, Billy's not gonna want to watch Supercross with his dad again. So to bring out the stories of the athletes, which as I said, you can tell the passion I have for the sport and these guys, it's incredible. There's a million stories out there, and to let people hear their stories. So then when they're flicking around, they oh, wow, that's cool. Next time they're flicking around, they're like, wait, stop. You got to see this because this guy, and he did, you know, that's what we're going for.
So you're so used to telling other people's stories, and here for once, you're getting your story told. You said that when you look at these athletes, the courage is unmistakable. Where have you noticed that you've had to be most courageous in your career rise, and where determination, persistence, perseverance showed itself the most?
Well, I like to think that I still have these traits. You try not to lose the things, the passion that got you started. I grew up in a town called Rotterdam, New York, small upstate New York town, 20 miles from Albany, right near Schenectady, City of Lights, General Electric. Um, uh, I went in, there was a place called Hollywood Video, and they rented movies in the front, and in the back they had a TV production area where they did corporate videos and weddings and all kinds of stuff. And I just got out of Herkimer County Community College. So I go in there, they had a help wanted sign on the door. And the guy said, I'm not hiring for TV production. I'm hiring somebody to rent the movies. And I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to rent the movies. I don't think so. No, yeah, I do. So he hired me. I would come in hours before my shift. I'd be in the back. I'd be dubbing tapes. I'd be doing this. I'd be shooting pictures for people's weddings, and I'd go work my shift, and then I'd go finish. And I did that for about a month and a half. And the guy's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I just, it's no problem. I'll do my shift. I'm not, he goes, God, I got to start paying you. And that's how I got my first job in TV.
So from there, what was next for you? So you obviously proved your superiors that you were capable, you were determined, you were going to put in the extra work. So then from there, where did you move on from that moment?
I worked at WRGB in Schenectady for a little while. I worked on the morning news and as assistant to the assignment editor. And then I went to Plattsburgh State, and from there, I got an internship up there in Plattsburgh with a sports station. And back then, Brian, I don't want to give away my age, but
No, stop.
it was the late 80s. ESPN had just kind of started. Like, freelance in sports TV wasn't really a thing. It certainly wasn't something like they talked about in school as, hey, you can make a living doing this. They gave you experience. Plattsburgh, we did the hockey games, we did basketball games, you had, but it wasn't really like it is now, I think, where you can go get experience being a utility or a runner on all this stuff. And it wasn't like that. But I got the internship at the sports station. First interview I had to do, I went to Lake Placid Club, which was like an hour something away from Plattsburgh, down in Placid. I set my camera next to this guy, started talking to him. Guy's named Jim Carr, still runs a very successful production company in Saratoga Springs called Car Use. And 2 weeks later, he hired me. And we did freestyle skiing, bobsled, luge, Anything that happened on the snow, in and around Lake Placid, that's what we did, and that's how I got my start, and I never looked back.
So you've always enjoyed the extreme sports, the outdoors, the adrenaline raising sports from what was going on snow and then now and motocross. For you, where did you notice, even before you even got into the business, that you had a thrill for the adrenaline? I know we talked about how you get adrenaline from watching these guys, but the daredevil in you as a child or when you were younger, where did that come from, or what did that look like?
No, I'm not a daredevil. I am exactly as I look. I am a 50-something-year-old balding guy that, picking stuff up off the floor taxes me physically. But I love sports. I love sports. My whole family loves sports. I played all the stick and ball sports in high school, and there's, if you're competing, if somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose, if you're keeping score, whether it's judging or points on a scoreboard, I'm in. It doesn't take any convincing to get me excited about that.
You mentioned some of the upcoming events in 2022. So there's a lot of excitement coming from noticing that, wow, we're going to have all these great venues and all these great people that are going to be a part of this and watching as well, and the big audiences. What is life on the road for you? And how do you make it comfortable knowing that you're going to be traveling a lot, you're doing all sorts of different things in different locations?
Well, when COVID hit, really interestingly, we were in Indianapolis, kind of in the middle of our Monster Energy Supercross Championship. We had just finished our race at Daytona. I think that was round 9 or 10, and we were going to Indy to go to Lucas Oil Stadium and fly in there. And turn on the TV, and you're in Indy, it's March, I'm psyched to watch the Big Ten tournament, and everybody's walking off the courts. And that's really the first time, like, we got a problem here. But Monster Energy Supercross, we obviously shut down like the rest of the world, but they were the first professional championship to come back and complete their season. By the end of June, we were in what we called a residency in Salt Lake City, and we finished the last 7 races. And it's pretty publicized, but yeah, that was the first professional championship to go and complete their championship in a pandemic.
So let's go to the, oh, sorry, go for it. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, and that was kind of different, right? That's like the beginning of COVID. So the entire crews there were locked down in Salt Lake City. Everybody's got hot plates and George Foreman's and crock pots in the room because restaurants aren't really open. And you're, like, I'm cooking in my room. Oh, this is great. Oh, my room smells like food now. I got to go, everybody's getting air fresheners and all this kind of stuff. It was learning on the fly, but it was still something to this day. I'm pretty proud of it. I'm really proud of our entire crew and the sport for pulling together and getting that done.
You said on Twitter that wins aren't always possible, but better always is. When you think about pulling off what you just said, coming out of the shutdown for sports and you being the first entity to come back, where does that stack up as a win in your career?
It's probably the coolest thing I've ever been involved in, because it wasn't just one part of it, right? It was the people at Feld Motorsports who were committed to getting all of their people, getting the series, getting the championship back to work. They could have counted their losses and said, yeah, we'll be back next year, guys, right? But they didn't. The riders, the teams, the Salt Lake City, the State of Sport was a tremendous host for us, and of course our whole group was there. We traveled probably 25 people, at least, maybe more, to get it done, and I was proud of everybody.
Proud must have also been the sentiments from the athletes in hearing, I'm sure, what they had to say about getting this done must have been also rewarding for you. What do you remember hearing from them after this event was pulled off, where it added the rewarding aspect to what you did, in knowing how much it meant, not just to you, the production team, and everybody that works in putting this event together, but also the athletes themselves.
Well, we had a lot of drama, right? We did 7 races in one venue, but no race was the same. They would change the track around, and you're worried about that. As a producer going in, like, oh, we're gonna have the same kind. No, every race was different. We had different winners, and we went down to it in the final with it up for grabs, and a guy who'd been chasing a championship, Eli Tomac, won his first Supercross championship after coming up late. Coming up short several times in his career. He had just had a baby, won it on Father's Day. I mean, and all that's happening. And normally all that would be happening with 55,000 people in the stadium. You could hear these guys talking to each other on the line. It was very surreal. But I think everybody was super grateful to be there and super grateful to do it. And there's no asterisks next to that championship. Ricky Carmichael, our analyst, who is regarded as the greatest of all time in the sport, said, because everything you've been through, this is going to be the hardest Supercross championship to win. And he was right.
Chris Bond is with us. He's on Twitter at Bondo TV producer of Motorcross, and he is dominating in that space. I'm Bryan Fenley on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. So you think about what you did there, and when you look back and you reflect upon your career as a whole, what brings you the most pride?
I think just doing it for so long, keep having the trust of the folks who run Supercross and Motocross to keep coming back for me, and I don't do it alone. I mean, we're very fortunate from when Supercross starts to Motocross ends. We do 29 shows. Jeff Manhart, our director, is to my right for all 29 of those shows. Mike McCune, our AD, is to my left for all 29 of those shows. Doreen Murray runs our tape room for every single one of those shows. Mark Dorsey is our lead EVS for every single one of those shows. There's a lot of people with a passion for this that bring it to light.
My final question, Chris Bond, I'm Bryan Fenley. What are you like as a team player in those production trucks, working and coordinating and dealing with live television, as you said, with all those people that you're working in conjunction with? And sometimes things don't go your way or the way in which you had as a production, and that has nothing connected to what you guys are doing, but things happen out there on the track that you're not expecting to happen, and the way in which you guys are all able to work in tandem.
Well, man plans, God laughs, right? So that's just it's just the way it is. That's live TV, man. That's when you strap in, you're not hoping for it, but that's why you do it, right? I think one of the things, all the people I've just talked to, and we have other people who do 15 Supercrosses and 10 motocrosses and all that kind of stuff. I always say no is an okay answer. I'm going to ask for things. If we can't do it, we can't do it. But if people tell me they can do it, I trust them to do it. I'm not a frame fiddler, if I go in and I know that I'm looking at something the EVS did or one of our editors on site did, and I know there's a better shot, I'll say, hey, go look for this shot at this round 3 years ago, just because I know that's there. But people have to own what they do, right? If you're the EVS operator on the show and you do something, that's your contribution to the show. You should be proud of that. You should own that. I think I do this. I hope I do this. I set out to do this. That's great. As long as it's A, B, and C, and we're telling a story, and, I think people need to have ownership in what they do, and I think our crew has a lot of pride in that, and knowing that everybody's pulling the rope in the same direction and everybody's contributing.
Everybody is contributing. I'm looking forward to seeing all of those moving pieces for the 2022 season, just to give people an idea of, yeah, they watch all this on television, but there's so much more that goes into putting this on, and hearing what it's like behind the scenes is that much as riveting, in my opinion, and to many as well, because of a lot of that doesn't get seen. You speak about the adrenaline that these athletes go through. There's a lot of adrenaline in that TV production room, considering that it is live television. And as you said, man, they try to plan, but then God laughs. But the fact of the matter is, because of how well you are as far as a versatile producer, your staying power is evident in what you've been able to do for so long. So you're doing all the right things, and it's an honor to have you on here. And Chris, I really appreciate the opportunity to tell your story. And I know this is not something you're doing often, because you're usually the one that is spotlighting other people, but just a little humble reminder that there are some really important, hardworking people that put on these lavish broadcasts. And Chris has been a big part of that. Follow him on Twitter at Bondo TV. I'm on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. Chris, thank you so much for the storytelling and the really interesting insights.
Brian, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.